Hi, welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of Everyday NLP Bites. For those of you that haven't been watching or listening to earlier podcasts, my name is Florence Madden. I'm an NLP trainer and coach based in Cumbria in the north of England. I'm also the author of The Intention Impact Conundrum, a book that I wrote based on the Personal Effectiveness at Work course that I run in the Lake District. And I'm also the co-author of Everyday NLP, a book that now forms the pre-course reading for the certificated NLP courses that I also run in the Lake District. In this season of podcasts, I'm looking at something called the Pre-suppositions of NLP, sometimes referred to as beliefs of excellence or resourceful beliefs. But when we take these on board as a belief or as an attitude, they can really transform how we think about ourselves, how we develop ourselves, and how effectively we interact with other people. The one that I'm chosen to look at in this podcast is that memory and imagination are wired on the same circuits. So what could that mean? Well, someone who knew very well what it meant was Muhammad Ali, the champion boxer. And he said that a man that has no imagination has no wings. So there is something really important about visualizing success. We're probably not aware of it, but before we go into just about any event, we in some way anticipate or visualize how it's going to go and what's going to happen. And when we visualize what's going to happen, that in some way primes our unconscious mind of what to look for. In earlier podcasts, I've been talking about the significance of the unconscious mind and saying that it drives more than 90% of our behaviour. So when we anticipate that someone is going to be difficult with us, then that's often how things actually turn out. And part of that, of course, is because if we anticipate someone's going to be difficult with us, that already starts to shape and change how we approach them. The unconscious is taking in a huge amount of information in a moment, and therefore it's got to filter it. So if we're sending it looking for difficulty or a problem, then that's what we've primed it to look for, and that's what it's going to notice. Fortunately, that works both ways, and many NLP processes use visualization. Visualizing the outcome that we want, visualizing ourselves being successful, because that is already starting to increase the chances of that happening. Muhammad Ali, as I said, was very aware of this, and in his preparation for a fight, he didn't just eat the right things and do things to get fit and do the sparring that you might expect. He also visualized how he wanted the fight to go. And he did that over and over and over in his mind. And he called creating his future history. So by the time the fight came around, he was already pretty convinced of how it was going to go. And he's not alone in creating his future history. Sports people of all sorts also use visualization to help them achieve the outcomes that they want. And this isn't just about priming us to look for success or be emotionally prepared. It's been shown that when we imagine movement, like boxing or skiing or dancing, when we imagine ourselves making that movement, it's been shown that that has a similar effect on the primary motor cortex in our brain. And in fact, helps the brain to make the connections relevant to that movement. So when we imagine doing something before we physically do it, we are already building our capability to be able to do whatever that is. There was an experiment carried out in the University of Chicago to demonstrate this point with basketball players. And they took a group of people and divided them into three. The first group were just in the gym doing free throws. The second group weren't touching a ball at all, but simply were visualizing doing it in their mind. And the third group were asked to do nothing at all. After 30 days, the group that didn't do anything, well, unsurprisingly, made no improvement. The group that had actually been physically doing the free throws actually increased their success rate by 24%. It was really interesting. The group that were just visualizing doing the throws actually increased their capability by 23%. So it's kind of interesting to think how we could do things better, how we could achieve things we want to achieve by anticipating and by visualizing our success beforehand. So imagination is not just about wishful thinking or even priming us to go into something well. It's actually about building the capability in our brain to achieve what we want to achieve. Someone else who was a big fan of imagination was Albert Einstein. And he said that imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited, but imagination encircles the world. And what's more, it's a preview of life's coming attractions. Now there's a thought. Thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. The last in the series is coming up in a week's time. And that is that experience has a structure and that can be changed. I hope you'll join me then. Thank you again.